Hi guys, it's Alice, and today we are gonna do another Q&A because it's kind of all I can think to do today. I got some questions from Instagram, and the first one is, what's your favorite classic? I can't really just choose one, so off the top of my head, Anna Karenina, The Handmaid's Tale, Animal Farm, Frankenstein, Jane Eyre, The Great Gatsby, and maybe Far from the Madding Crowd. Oh, and also They Were Sisters by Dorothy Whipple, which I read recently and loved. The second question is, what's your favorite quote? I feel like it's kind of a tie between the "Not all those who wander are lost" quote from Lord of the Rings and the bit in Pride and Prejudice where Darcy says, "In vain I have struggled, it will not do." I feel like I've kind of exposed myself with that last quote, but there you go. Then someone asks, how do you find time to read so many books, and can you read at work? Now, I get this question quite a lot, and I never really know how to answer it because I just sort of make time, I guess. I feel like maybe it's habit, and I've had that habit for many years. So I just sort of put reading everywhere I can in my day. Like, I'll read in the morning if I feel like it. I'll read on my lunch break if I have time. I bring a book with me everywhere, and then I try to read in bed and after work and just sort of whenever I can and feel like it. And then on the weekends, if I don't have any plans, I'll read quite a lot, and I do like a lot of my reading on the weekends. I can't read at work though, that would not be good. I'm also not a very social person, which I guess helps. Like, I have a lot of free time to read because I don't really do much else. The next question is, where do you buy your books, new or secondhand, independent bookshops or online? Pretty sure I've answered this before, but I order most of my books online and then I buy some of them in bookstores. Although most of those bookstores aren't independent, as far as I'm aware at least. And that's mainly because the ones closest to where I live and where I work aren't independent, and those are the ones that are easiest for me to go to. Then someone writes, your favorite book cover of all time. There are a lot of amazing book covers out there, but one that I have is this beautiful edition of The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. And I just love everything about this book. I love the colors, I love all the shiny bits, I think the design is just amazing, and yeah, I think it's gorgeous. Next up, we've got, which do you prefer, normal books, ebooks, or audiobooks? I very much prefer physical books, and almost all the books I read are in physical form. I do read ebooks every once in a while, either when I'm traveling or I'll like find something on Scribd. I don't really listen to audiobooks though. For some reason, I just can't get into audiobooks, and every once in a while I'll like try one, and I'll try one that a lot of people say is like a really good audiobook, and I just can't get into it for some reason. I'm actually really surprised by it because I listen to podcasts, and that's fine, like I love podcasts, but for some reason I just can't get into audiobooks. Then someone asks, how did rearranging the shelves go after you did the UNHAUL? It went very well. I managed to fit all of my books on my shelves, which was very satisfying. And even on some shelves, I have like more room for books, which is great. It's not gonna last long, but for now we have things under control. Next, I got a couple of questions that were sort of different varieties of which Norwegian author can you recommend. The first one that comes to mind is Maja Lunde. Her books have been translated into loads of different languages, and her most popular book is The History of Bees, and I really enjoy her books. I've also made like an entire video all about Scandinavian fiction recommendations that you can check out, and I'll link to it somewhere. As with almost every Q&A that I do, someone always asks, how many books do you own? The answer is still the same. I don't know, I've never counted them, and I don't really want to. If I had to guess, it's like maybe 300 or 400, give or take a lot. Then we've got some questions about the current state of affairs. And the first one is, how's the situation in Norway? So we're still in lockdown, and here that means that schools, universities, movie theaters, museums, all of those places are completely closed. Grocery stores and pharmacies are still open. They've kept shopping centers open, but with reduced opening times. And everything else is basically shut down. Everyone has also been told to not gather in groups of more than 5 people, and everyone is supposed to stay 2 meters away from each other. And most people have been told that if they can work from home, they have to work from home. This thing is gonna last until the 13th of April. It might last longer, but that's like the time they've set this time. And then on the 8th, I think we'll get more information from the government. I don't know when this video is going up exactly, but that's the latest news. And then someone wonders your comfort reads during these trying times and best books to read during a difficult time. Now, I feel like comfort reads vary widely from person to person, but I'd say maybe try to reread a favorite book, maybe especially like a childhood favorite. Like my comfort read is The Secret Garden, because that was like a book I loved when I was a kid, so maybe something like that. Then we've got who would you be stuck in quarantine with from the Harry Potter world. Anytime I make a Q&A, one of my best friends always comes up with some sort of Harry Potter related question, and this is the one that she came up with this time, and I love it. I don't really know though. I think maybe being stuck with Molly would be nice because she could cook, and she's a pretty good cook, so I could like benefit from that. Although she probably worries a lot, so that might be annoying. Maybe Hermione, because we could read and I'm sure she could teach me all kinds of stuff. Or the Weasley twins, because then I would for sure never be bored. My friend also asked the question, what's your favorite quarantine snack and why is it Pops? Which is this snack right here, and you're absolutely right, it's my favorite snack in quarantine and for everything. The next question is, does the thought of staying at home for an indefinite period of time freak you out? If you had asked me this before the pandemic, I would for sure have said like, no, that would never be a problem. But now that we're here, and now that not only is everyone just staying at home as much as possible, including myself, I also had to go into quarantine for 2 weeks and not leave my apartment at all. Yes, that does freak me out. Like the thought of doing that without like an end in sight, I don't think I would do very well with that. I think I would struggle, as would most people, I think. Then someone asks, what about Norway do you find surprisingly different when you travel elsewhere? I think just how different cultures are around the world always surprises me. Like obviously, if you go somewhere like Japan, you know that the culture is going to be very, very different. But I've traveled to places where I've thought before I went there that this was going to be very similar to Norway, and then it isn't, because there are always like these little cultural differences that make a whole world of difference. And I kind of love that. Like I think it's really interesting, but I feel like it always surprises me how different things are, even when you don't necessarily travel that far. I'm also always surprised whenever I'm traveling and some stranger starts talking to me, because it just, here in Norway, we really don't talk to each other a whole lot. Like if you're in line for something, it's very rare that you talk to anyone or anyone tries to like start a conversation. If we talk to each other, it's like to point something out, like, you know? It's not to like actually start a conversation. So whenever that happens to me when I'm traveling, I'm just like, ah, help. I'm also often surprised by how people drive in other countries. Because I feel like in Norway, and maybe in Scandinavia in general, people are pretty good at like sticking to the rules, and people are relatively safe drivers. And then you go somewhere else and people are crazy. And I feel like if you're gonna drive somewhere else, you have to like you have to become a more aggressive driver, and I'm always really surprised by that. Next question is, what is a skill you'd like to learn? One skill I really admire when I see other people do it is like bullet journaling. Like whenever you see these like beautiful, gorgeous notebooks and like the writing is impeccable and they've like painted in them, or there's really amazing drawings in them, like I just see that and I'm amazed by it because it just looks so good. And I guess something I would like to be better at is like my handwriting because it's a mess. It's really not very attractive. Like you can read it, but it's not. I'd love to be able to like write really beautifully. I will say I don't really know what I would use this skill for. I don't really know if I am ever gonna start a bullet journal because I just know I'm gonna get really tired of it and I'm never gonna fill like a whole thing out. And I don't always see the point in having one for me personally. But yeah, maybe having like some calligraphy skills could be cool. We also got a food related question this time, and it is favorite pizza topping. I am a sucker for pepperoni. I love pepperoni pizza. I just think it's so good. Next, someone writes, if you could live somewhere else, where would you live? If it was like a permanent move, I don't think I would leave Norway. I would probably move to Bergen, which is a city on the west coast that's really beautiful, and I have family there. If I had to leave Norway though, I would maybe go to like Stockholm or maybe London. However, if it was only for like a month or two, I would maybe be a little bit more adventurous. I might want to live in like Amsterdam for a couple of months because I've been there and I love that city, or maybe somewhere like Florence. I've been there too and I loved it there. Like it's so beautiful, and also they have a lot of pasta and I love pasta. Then someone asks, best Scandinavian films / series. The Swedish film adaptation of the Millennium Trilogy is amazing. There are 3 movies and they are quite brutal, as are the books if you've read them, but that adaptation is just, it's incredible. Lastly, we've got some gaming and Animal Crossing questions, which is super fun. And the first one is, what kind of Switch do you play on? So I play on the Nintendo Switch Lite in black. The second question is, do you have a certain fruit you hope will be your island's fruit? If I could pick, I would probably pick either peaches or pears, but the ones that I've got are cherries, which is fine. So far I've planted like orange trees and pear trees and coconut trees. So I'm missing 3, I think. I think there are apples, peaches, and then also bananas. So I need to find those. Second to last, why do you like Animal Crossing so much? I think a part of the reason I enjoy it so much is that it's kind of nostalgic to me, but I also just find it really relaxing and it's super cute and it's just a nice break from everything else. The very last question is, what did you name your character and your island? So I used my name for the character's name because I can never think of any other name. Like I always just use my own. I'm not very creative with that. And then I named the island Amica because Amica means friend in Latin, I think. And I did that because I'm apparently a little pretentious. Okay guys, those are all of the questions for today. Now I would love to know what your favorite pizza topping is, what your comfort read is, and if you play Animal Crossing, what did you name your island? And I will see you soon. Bye!